Welcome back to Misunderstood. I'm your host, Rachel Yucatel. So you guys, this week I had the pleasure of going to Port St. Lucie and I went to the Mets fantasy camp, which I got to tell you is like the coolest thing for men who, really wanted a career as a baseball player or wanted to meet some famous players and never got a chance to. They spend a week with some of the most, iconic baseball players in the country. And when I got there, they were all in the middle of a game and it felt like being in a big leagues game. It was actually quite enthralling. I sat down with Dwight Gooden, Dr. K himself. This man has won 3 World Series, Rookie of the Year, Cy Young, played in 4 All-Star games, pitched a no-hitter. And next year, his number 16, will be retired by the Mets organization. Growing up in New York, I feel like I've been watching Dwight Gooden my whole life. And pitching is no easy feat. I mean, this guy was an icon. Baseball is a huge part of his story. And man, does he have stories. But hearing about his love for his family, his loss, his struggles with substance abuse makes the legend of Doc feel like a man we can all relate to. We talk about some of our favorites: Gary Carter, Keith Hernandez, Jesse Orosco, Darryl Strawberry, Derek Jeter, a ton more. And he takes us on the mound with him during his unbelievable Yankees no-hitter and what he was thinking that night. And it's not what you imagine. Dwight's struggles have been well documented, but now he's using his life experiences to help others fight to stay clean and inspire kids. It was truly an honor to chat with him, and I can't wait to be there cheering him on at the ceremony when his number is retired next year. So, I cannot wait for you to write me, DM me, leave a review. Let me know what you thought of this episode. You do not have to be a baseball fan to find it interesting at all. He is fascinating. And not only that, it's a little bit different. We were sitting in the dugout as we were doing this episode. So you do hear a little, what I will call ambiance in the background of the game finishing up. But I hope you won't be too distracted by that. Really listen to the words that Dwight Gooden is speaking, because he is just, he's a guy who's really been through it. And it's really my honor to bring him to you here at Misunderstood. Dwight Gooden, thank you so much for joining me on Misunderstood. It is so good to see you again.
It's great to see you as well. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So here we are at the Mets Fantasy Camp. Can you tell people what that is and what your role is here?
Yeah, so the Mets Fantasy Camp is fans that's living their dreams. They come down here for 2 weeks. They get a uniform. They get the home uniform, which is all white, and the road uniform is all gray. We share the same locker with the players as they do with the former players. They play 2 games a day. At night, we do different things. Like tonight, the coaches go out to eat with the players. Tomorrow night, what they call a casino night. It's a charity event. We play casino, have a good time. Wednesday is called Kangaroo Court. That's where guys who maybe go up the bat without the helmet, wrong shoe, late, or do something crazy, they get fined $20. And two of the former players pretend to be judges. So it's just a fun time. Thursday is cocktail night. You just hang out at the games. But it's great, though. The guys get to come out here, they live out their fantasy. They get the jersey they want, the number they want. We get autographs, get to hang out with the guys. We have breakfast in the morning, lunch in the afternoon. I think it's like $5,000 to come down for a week. So I would say for all the Met fans who enjoy baseball and want to be around their former players and their favorite players, come down and it's a great time, and the weather's always great.
Right, absolutely. So they are absolutely living their dream if they get to hang out with people like you.
Yes,
Especially these Mets fans.
I enjoy it, too. This is my 10th straight year that I've been down here.
Oh, yeah?
I enjoy just as much because as a player, you don't get much time to really talk to the fans, because you got things to do and get ready for the game. Down here, you can reminisce a little bit, talk about your moments, get to know them. So now it's like a big family. Like a lot of these guys stay in contact year-round. A lot of doctors, police officers. I mean, you got a little bit of everything down here.
Right. And are they talking to you about your former highlights and where they were when you hit something or if you pitched something? Or are they all
for sure
sharing that with you?
Yes. Last night at the welcome dinner, last night was the first night, so we had a welcome dinner. We teach them everything, explain everything. So there was one guy telling a story that when he was a kid, I tried to toss him a ball, but somebody jumped in the way to get it. So I signed the ball last night, and I had to get the mic and I said, hey, remember the ball that you didn't get? Here you go. And I tossed it to him. So they loved it.
That's
the guy
amazing.
was crying, and it was just great. And that's what it's all about. Yes.
So I want to go back because obviously you've had a long history with the Mets.
Yes.
And I want to go back to your childhood. The first question I have for you is, how did you know you wanted to be a baseball player? Like, was there a backup plan? Did you want to be something else when you were a kid?
Great question. I always tell people, if I wasn't playing baseball, I have no idea what I'd be doing.
Really?
My dad was a baseball, he loved it. I mean, he just loved it. He knew all the teams lineup, and growing up in Tampa in the 60s, we only had, one channel. We only watched Atlanta Braves from Tampa, and we listened to the games on the radio. So my dad, he coached Little League Baseball, coached girls softball, he coached semi-pro baseball. So I would follow him everywhere he goes. He could not leave the house without me following him. So kind of growing around baseball when I was small, the guys would roll me the ball. As I got older, they tossed me the ball. So once I got old enough to play organized ball, a guy that played on my dad's team was coaching a Little League team. And he said, just sign up and I'll get you on my team. So I signed up and got me on his team, and I just started playing from there.
And were you a natural from the beginning?
It's funny. So my first year, I was playing, and I remember I was waiting to go up the bat, and I saw my parents in the stands, and for some reason, I just got jitterbugs or something. I went out.
You got nervous?
I got very nervous. I don't know why. And so I didn't go up to hit. I said I didn't want to play anymore. So for my parents to watch me play, they had to watch me from across the street. And then when I would get home, they would tell me what I did. Then I felt like it was okay for them to watch me play. But I would say from probably 9 to 12, I just totally dominated. But then we go to the bigger field with the 13, 14, 15-year-olds. Things kind of even out a little bit. And then I didn't know that I had a shot at playing Major League Baseball probably to my junior in high school.
Right. Now, how did you get into pitching? Like, was it a position a coach put you in, or did you know that that's where your strong suit lied? How did you decide that was your position? You know what?
Oh, man, you got some great questions. You're on top of it. So my dad, he taught me and my nephew, Gary Sheffield, who played professional baseball. We lived in the same house. Somehow my dad knew I was going to be the pitcher and Gary's going to be the hitter. So when we used to watch the games, we were little, I'm talking like 9, 10 years old. I'm 4 years older than Gary. He said, do you guys love the game? I said, yes. He said, every day he comes home from work, we're going to go to the park. I said, all right, no problem. We go to the park. We did all these drills, but it wasn't fun because we couldn't take a glove, you couldn't take a bat, you couldn't take a ball. He was just teaching us all about mechanics and talk to Gary how to hold a bat. So the one thing I regret is before my dad passed away, I never asked him where he get his knowledge from. But he taught us all that. And so going into playing organized baseball, he just started off pitching, and Gary was starting off hitting, and it just kind of happened.
Right.
Even though I didn't like pitching that much because the guy would pitch me like every chance he get. But I was the type of player, I want to die for the balls, I want to slide, get my uniform dirty. But that was my ticket.
Right.
But I always wanted to be a hitter, but pitching was my ticket.
Got it. Okay.
Yes.
Now, how were you scouted for the first time?
First time, so I got my when I was in high school, I'm telling my age now, we didn't have freshmen and all that stuff. So it started like 10th grade, sophomore year on.
Okay, yeah.
And our team was loaded. We had 3 guys that went on to play professional baseball. So we would play Tuesday, Friday, and Saturday. I was a good hitter in high school. So we had a guy, Floyd Yeomans, who played professional. I got Vance Lovelace, who was a professional. And Albert Everett, who was Carl Everett, who played with the Mets, his bigger brother.
Okay.
So those guys were the starting pitchers because my sophomore year, let me back up. My sophomore year, I made the team, but the coach felt sophomores don't play. You just on the team, you learn this and that. But I felt that I was better than some guys in the playing, so I quit the team.
Okay.
And then the next year I went back out. He treated me like a sophomore. I had to try out, had to do all the positions. So I played outfield, a little bit of infield, but I wasn't pitching. So I was a little upset, but then he said, you'll be the relief pitcher. So if a guy got in trouble, I'll come in and pitch a little bit. And halfway through the season, he almost got kicked off the team for missing practice, and I got into the starting rotation. And once I got in, I just totally took over. I just totally dominated. And that's where the scouts were like, start watching me because they'll come to the game to see the other pitchers.
I see.
And then they're packing their bags and they hit a mitt popping. This is what my dad told me. They hit a mitt popping. And then they open the suitcase back over. They have the radar gun in and it came back out. And so technically I tell kids I only played a year and a half. So never give up on your dream.
Yeah, that's obviously happened to you and a good lesson. So, okay, how did you first get, so the scout came in and said, we want you to play with the minors for the Mets.
Oh, so they scout you, right? And so they call watching and give a letter and say, oh, we want to try you out. They'll come get me out of class. They'll see me throw. They'll let me hit. And then they always take me to the mound to throw. And so they say, if we get a chance to sign you, we're going to sign you. I'm like, okay. So I didn't know much about it. And then my high school coach told me that I would probably go between the 10th and the 15th round. So I signed a letter of intent to go to the University of Miami. And so the day of the draft, I was down in Tampa with a couple of guys and watching the board. It's not like now where the guys go to MLB Networks or ESPN to run the whole thing when you watch the draft. Back then, you go watch it on TV or you go to the newspapers stand, or station, I'm sorry, and they have a little screen going across. So I went there, and I'm thinking 10th to 15th round, and then you see first round, I think Sean Johnson was more with the Cubs, and I forget the other three guys. Then the Mets came up, and you see Dwight Gooden, 5th pick, first round. So I had the guy call New York to make sure it was right because I'm like, no way, based on what my coach told me. He said, no, they're taking you. And I was like, couldn't believe it. Me and a friend came to the station to see it. My friend had to drive me back, even though it was my dad's car. I was just so excited because, we grew up in the inner city. At one time, me and my dad, we shared the same winter coat, sitting by the stove to get heat and stuff like that. So my whole goal was that I made it. My mom was like, yeah, but you got to school, go to school. But I said, Mom, I'm going to sign no matter what they get me. So my dad did my first contract. He negotiated, we signed. And the biggest thing for me was get my mom a house and get my dad a car. At that point, my job was done. But even though I went on to play a long time.
Right. So you went from the minors to the majors with skipping a couple steps there, right? That went very quickly. Were you surprised by that? Like what did you feel when they said you were
I was
moving
surprised because my first year, being 17 years old, signing out of high school, I was a mama's boy. I have 5 other siblings. I'm the youngest by 13 years, so everybody spoiled me. First time leaving home, I cried every day, calling home every day. And my dad's like, stop calling here. You either come home or stick it out. And then my mom on the other hand, she's like, well, your dad don't get home from work at such and such time. Call between these hours. So the first year I did okay. It was only 2 months, but I was homesick. My first full season was the next year. I was in Lynchburg, Virginia. I started off 0-3. They was talking about sitting me down. I worked with my pitching coach on a couple of things about pitching inside because I would not pitch inside because in high school, I hit a kid in the head and the paramedics came on the field.
Oh, wow.
So I was afraid to pitch inside. So he told me, pitch inside. If the guy hits the ball hard off of you, the next guy, I want you to knock him down, meaning throw it tight while he goes down. If the guy hits a hard off of you, I want you to hit the next guy. So after starting off 0-3, I learned about pitching inside, and I ended up 19-4 the rest of the season after 0-3. So technically, I went 19-1 the rest of the way. I got called up to AAA. That's the league right before the majors. And Davey Johnson was the manager, and he said wherever he managed the following year, he's going to take me with him.
Got it.
Joyce Bamberger was the big league manager before him. He resigned. Davey got the job, and he stuck with his word and brought me to spring training, and I made a team out of spring training as a 19-year-old.
Wow. So he followed through on his word.
Yes.
Yeah. What was it like telling your parents you were moving up?
Oh, man, that was the best. I always see my dad cry twice. When his mom passed.
Well, how did they literally tell you, and then how did you tell your parents? That's my question.
So Davey, it's funny. So all through spring training, every game I pitched in spring training, the media would come up and say, "Oh, we hear you going back down to the minors because of the age." And so I'll run in Davey's office like a little kid. I'll say, "Davey, they said I'm going back to the minors." He goes, "No, don't worry about it. You're going to make the team." The last day of spring training, like the 5th inning, Davey comes and goes, "Congratulations, you're making the team." Called my parents because spring training day was in St. Petersburg, Florida.
Okay, yeah.
I lived in Tampa, so it was like a 30-minute drive. My parents came over, and I told my dad I made the team. He couldn't say congratulations, nothing. Just the tears come down.
Aww.
My dad was one of those guys that he grew up in like the country, like in the 6th of Georgia, where men don't cry, men don't hug, none of it, stuff like that. But
so
see
that
him
was
cry,
emotional for him.
Yes, because it was his dream come true. Because initially, his dream became my dream of playing baseball. Because my brothers, they played a little bit, but they weren't that good. And then he always wanted to play, so he coached. And then for me to make it that far, it was like, it was a definite dream for him.
Our friends from Manscaped want to wish everyone a happy holidays. And ladies, if you have been looking for the perfect gift for your special someone, look no further. Santa's helpers have been working hard to bring you Manscaped's brand new Performance Package 5.0 Ultra for the man in your life. Featuring the new Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra Ball Trimmer for the perfect mix of naughty and nice, go to manscaped.com and use code UNDERSTOOD for 20% off plus free shipping. Get like Santa and slay the holidays this year with Manscaped. So, guys, seriously, I know that it's hard every time you're looking for a gift for a man, whether it's your man, whether it's a man in your family, whether it's a friend. I'm telling you guys, this is the perfect gift. You're literally looking at the Manscaped Performance Package 5.0 Ultra. It's the ultimate bundle. It includes the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra and the Weed Whacker 2.0 ear and nose trimmer. They both feature proprietary advanced skin-safe technology and are waterproof, so he can get ready in the shower, no hair in your drain. It also includes Manscaped's liquid formulations and 2 free gifts. Manscaped's Boxers 2.0 premium underwear and the Shed 2.0 toiletry bag. If your guy is still wearing his old boxers with holes in them, then Manscaped Boxers are the perfect upgrade for you. I'm telling you guys, this is a great gift. And if you're a man and looking for a gift for yourself, you cannot beat this. So get 20% off and free shipping with the code understood at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use the code understood. Gift him Manscaped and unwrap your favorite present this year. Guys, are you missing a little excitement in your life, in your everyday life? It doesn't just have to be in the evenings. You can get lost in a fantasy world with hundreds of sexy stories on Dipsea. Dipsea is an app with hundreds of short, sexy audio stories designed by women for women, and new content is released every week, so you'll never get bored. They bring immersive soundscapes and realistic characters right to you. You can discover stories about second chance romances, and at Misunderstood, we love a second chance, especially when it comes to love. They also have stories about adventurous vacation flings, fantasy series about vampires, Greek gods. There's so much more to explore. They even have soothing sleep stories and wellness sessions. You really have to try this out. So I had never heard of this, but once I found out about Dipsea, I was hooked. Guys, I put on my headphones and I will take it with me to the supermarket. If I'm going on a walk, if I just need some extra excitement in my life, it really keeps you focused. I honestly think it's the sexiest thing I've heard in a long time. So please check it out. For listeners of our show, Dipsea is offering an extended 30-day free trial when you go to dipseastories.com/understood. That's 30 days of full access for free. When you go to dipseastories.com/understood, you spell that DIPSEA stories.com/understood. Enjoy. Amazing. Sounds so now great. You head up to New York, right? You're up in the city. Right. Are you homesick still?
Once I got to New York, I wasn't homesick, but I was like, because I was real shy and laid back, so I was like scared to go to the city for sure.
Aww.
So I lived in Port Washington, Long Island, and I was only 19.
I used to live in Sands Point, so I know.
Point?
Yeah.
Oh, nice, yes.
Yeah, right
so
there.
Still today, I never took the subway.
Wow.
I never did that. And so I was like, just live in Port Washington. I'll go to the ballpark and come home. I'll go to the movie theater like 2 blocks away.
Were you roommates with one of the players, or you lived by yourself?
By myself.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was great. First time I had my high school girlfriend come up for a little bit to stay with me.
Oh, nice.
I didn't know how to cook. I didn't know how to clean. I didn't know nothing.
Yeah.
So she would do all that and taught me some things. So it was great. But the first year was very nerve-wracking. After about 2 months, then I felt okay, like I belonged.
Tell the story about the very first night that you pitched. I feel like you have a great story. Your parents came, your dad came, right?
Yes.
And how you walked to the stadium.
Oh, yes.
Did I get that right?
Yes.
Okay.
So my first big league start was in Houston. So I'd never been to the Astrodome before, ever.
Okay.
And the Mets was kind enough to fly my parents in. And so earlier, it was a 7 o'clock game. So we got there, we had lunch about 2 o'clock. The bus wasn't going to leave till 5. So I went to the concierge. I asked him, how far is Astrodome? He said, like 3 miles. I said, do you have a map? Because, back then there was no cell phones with GPS and that. He gave me a map. So I saw the way. I walked to the ballpark. Like, it was about 3 o'clock. I left to go to the ballpark. Once I get to the ballpark, I've never been there, so I don't know how to get in. It's like an 8-foot fence. True story, 8-foot fence. I climbed the fence. And as I get on the other side, the security guards come up. Hey, kid, where you going? What are you doing?
Right.
I said, I'm Dwight Gooden. I'm pitching tonight. So I show them my license. They say, like, we don't know. So luckily, the trainers was there. They called
But did the security guard believe you? Were they right?
They're like, yeah, right. So,
oh, my God.
So they called, on the walkie-talkie, they called down to the trainers, to the locker room, our locker room. Our trainers were there.
Yeah.
So the trainers had to come get me. They said it was okay, I was pitching that night. And my parents were in the stands. so I pitched. But I never been so nervous in my life.
Right.
Pitching my first big league game and had my parents was there because remember the first time my parents let me play, I wouldn't go back out there. And so now here they are at my first game.
Right. And how'd you do that night?
Did good. Pitched 5 innings, got the win, gave up 1 run.
Right.
And it was funny. My dad goes, "Son, what do you think?" I said, "This should be good. I should win a lot of games." But my next game in Chicago, I got knocked out of the game in like the second inning.
Oh, wow.
And then my dad was like, "What do you think?" I said, "Now I don't know if I'm ready." So I went from I should be fine to now I don't know if I'm ready.
Right. Yeah. Did you ever get to the point where you weren't nervous in front of your parents to play?
Never. Because even my whole career, like they would drive up to Atlanta when I lived in Tampa, and I had a lot of family in Atlanta. They would come there, but it's just something about my parents being there. Because, like, you want to do well, which they don't really care. They just happy you're there.
Right.
But I just always was more nervous. So a lot of times when they say that we're coming to Atlanta, I was like, I want to see my parents, but I don't want them to come to the game. But I never told them that.
Right.
So.
I always had a question about your number. What was the first day you saw you were going to be number 16?
Probably the first year I signed, because my number was always 10. I always liked number 10 through Little League and high school. When I got drafted, when I went to Kingsport, I was actually a guy there, number 10. It was a guy, Russ Orrick. I'll never forget him. He had number 10. He had been in the Mercury Ball for like 4 years in a row. He wasn't going anywhere. And he goes, "I don't care if you're a bonus baby or not, you're getting my number." Bonus, what they call bonus babies is guys that's drafted in the first round. So normally you get a big bonus. Oh. So they call them bonus babies.
Okay.
So he's like, "I don't care if you're a bonus baby or not, you're not getting my number." So I said, the guy, the equipment manager, "What number do you have that's close to 16 but not 13? I always thought 13 was bad luck.
Oh,
so I have 16. That's why I take 16.
And it's your birthday.
And my birthday.
Yeah. Did that matter to you, or just was the closest number to 10?
Just the closest number. But you know what's weird, since you said that? So when I was in spring training the first year of the Mets, right, I was number 64. With the Mets, I was 16. And with the Yankees, I was number 11. My birthday is 11, 16, 64. But it just kind of happened that way.
Yeah.
That's weird, right?
Oh, my God. That is weird.
Yeah.
How did you get the nickname Doc?
So Doc comes from, I used to tell people basketball, but actually my dad's best friend was a doctor. So he did autopsies. And when I was very young, I used to go with him to see the autopsies. I don't know why or why I had the interest, but like today I would not go in there. No way. But when I was young, I would go in there and watch him do it. I mean, you got body parts hanging and stuff. So he would always tell my dad he's going to be a doctor. He's not going to be a baseball player. And so for some strange reason, every time I would pitch in Little League, he would always say, "Come on, Doc, strike him out, Doc." And when I got to high school, he would say the same thing. Before every game, my dad and his friend would have a couple of drinks and watch the game. And anytime I get 2 strikes on the batter, he's like, "Come on, Doc, operate on Doc. You have another patient, Doc. Put him away, Doc." And the writer wrote it. And so my teammates started calling me Doc. When I got drafted, everybody was calling me Goody. They give everybody nicknames. And so I didn't really like Goody, so I said, back home they called me Doc.
Right.
It just kind of stuck.
Yeah, that's a great story. Now, how did you become Dr. K?
So Dr. K, so you know how I got Doc. K means strikeouts. And after my first year, when I broke the strikeout record, they added a K, Dr. K. All the fans, they went running around the stands hanging up these Ks. So the writers actually gave me the K, Dr. K.
Right.
With the K. So.
And how often did you look at that K corner? Were you aware of it?
Oh, yes, I was aware. Like, when I was playing, I would always say, "Yeah, I don't know." But, give them a political correct answer. But I definitely take a peek up there.
Right.
Because in the left field corner, that's where they hung the Ks. And when you strike somebody out, they pass the ball around the infield. The third baseman is always the last guy to get the ball before he throws it to me. So I always take a peek up there, see the Ks. Because Carter, who was my catcher, he always wanted me to get 10 strikeouts. Right. So I would see where I was at to see how many I need. Right. So I would definitely look at it. So
that's awesome. Yes. So who were the most influential guys on the team when you were finally on the Mets? Like, who were you closest with? Who meant a lot to your, because you were so young. So these guys must have really taken you in and helped you, right?
Yes, big time. So Keith Hernandez helped me a lot. Just about on the road, he'll come by, make sure I'm okay, make sure I'm not homesick, and talk to me. We had this guy, Mike Torres, older guy. He's actually going to be retiring my number next year. So you have to come to that.
I would love that.
Yeah, I get information for
I would love that.
But yes, so Mike Torres told me in spring training, he goes, "If you make the team, they're probably going to release me." So he said, "But as long as I'm here, I'm going to help you." Yeah. So he used to tell me about pitching the hitters, how do you look for the hitters' weaknesses, and so on. So I made the team, and they kept him on the team. But then, towards the end, they told him, once some guys get healthy, they're going to release him. So when he wasn't pitching, I wasn't pitching, I had to sit by him. And he would say, "What would you throw here? Why would you throw this here?" So he had a big influence on my career itself, same as off the field, too. I had to go out and eat with him. And like back then, the veterans kind of took you on their wings. Yeah. The only problem, they made the young guys pay for the tab.
Oh,
that was the only thing. Yeah. So I didn't like that.
Teaching you some responsibility, I guess.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right, well, that's cool.
I learned a lot from him.
Was there anyone that was harsh with you or difficult or tough on you?
this one guy who's actually here, this guy Ed Lynch, right? So I make the team. Well, first of all, I took his position.
Okay.
They made me the starter. He wasn't in the bullpen. And when I made the team, get to New York. And normally, like now, guys who make the team, they put you in a hotel for 3 days, and then until you find a place.
Okay.
Back then, in the 80s, you get to park and you're on your own.
Oh.
So I asked Darryl Strawberry, I said, look, can I stay a couple days? He goes, oh, my family's here, my wife's here. So Ed goes, I'll help you. You can stay with me. I'll help you find a place.
Right.
And a true story, he takes me on Queens Boulevard, like I think 108th Street. It's the projects. He takes me there and goes, this place. I say, Eddie, come on, I'm not staying here. He goes, because of your salary? I said, no. I said, I'm not getting out of this car. Then you see a guy running out of the building with no shirt on and a TV.
Right. Oh, my gosh.
We was talking about the shirt. I'm like, I'm not staying here. So I stayed with Eddie for a couple of days, and then I found a place in Port Washington.
Right.
So that's how it kind of worked out. Yeah.
Okay. But now you have a good relationship with him.
Yeah, now we're cool. We talk about it, we laugh about it,
right.
and all that, so it's good. And he's a good friend as well.
Okay, so talk about what it was like to be Rookie of the Year.
Being Rookie of the Year was definitely a dream come true because you only got one shot at winning the Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
You know, and I never
And it was your first year.
First year,
yeah.
Yes. So when I made the team, I told my dad I just want to play a long time and stay healthy. I never thought about any awards. And I remember towards the end of the season, the public relations guys, Jay Horace, told me, Doc, it's between myself and this guy, Juan Samuel, who was with the Phillies, of winning the award. So every time I faced Juan Samuel, I was trying to strike him out because I knew it was me and him having a battle. And when the season was over, I still didn't know because they don't like giving pitchers those awards. And when I got the call that you won Rookie of the Year, I was like, wow. I shared that with my parents. I was still there with my parents, even though I was in the major leagues.
Yeah.
I was like, I couldn't believe it. But, you know, I stayed humble. I was happy with it. But I wanted to keep working hard because I always feared it was like taking my job.
Right, right. Okay, let's talk about 1986. Yeah. That year, obviously, changed a lot of people's lives, and yours, I'm assuming. What was it like to be at Chase Stadium with that kind of like electricity? I feel like it's never been like that since, in my opinion. I mean, I was 11 years old. I remember my mom waking me up at night to watch the games, and it was such a big part of my childhood. And New York, it was a different place, it feels like. You guys weren't just ball players. You were like celebrities. You know, people loved you. The electricity, the excitement going to a Mets game was something like you can't describe it to people that weren't there.
No, you're right. It was crazy because we're connected with the fans.
Yeah.
They do these curtain calls, clapping when you come back out, you do something great.
Yeah.
And, you know, being, at that time I was 21. I mean, it was just overwhelming. And then to win the World Series in New York, after coming so close the previous year in 85, and to win it at home, I remember, you know, running on the field and the fans all crashed down the field. It was fun and scary at the same time.
Right.
But, I mean, it was...
I always wondered, do you guys ever get hurt when you guys jump on each other like that?
You get sore like today's couple of days, especially if you're at the bottom of the pile.
Right.
So you get hurt.
But are they all like, oh, help him up? I mean, is everyone worried about the guy on the bottom?
You're just so excited.
You're just so excited.
You're so excited about going, but the next day you feel some aches and pains, no doubt.
Right.
We had fans running out there jumping all out, celebrating.
Right.
I mean, it was crazy, but like I said, it changed everything.
Right.
It was the greatest.
So that moment when you guys know that you're throwing your final pitch and you guys know you're going to the World Series and, you know, that's it. You guys are excited. How did you feel? Like, could you believe it? Were your parents going to fly in? Like, just tell me the state of mind of you guys knowing you're now going to the World Series. Oh,
it's the greatest feeling you can have because we're playing the Houston Astros. It was a battle because they had a pitcher, Mike Scott, who was unbelievable that year.
Yeah.
You know, he won the Cy Young, had over 300 strikeouts, and we couldn't hit him. He beat me the first game 1-0, and then he won another game. So it was Game 6. We had to win Game 6 because if they would have won, we had to face them in Game 7.
Oh, right, okay.
So we had to win a game. It ended up going 16 innings. But we just kept battling, and to win that game, I mean, we was on a plane coming back to New York, and we destroyed that plane. We was basically, the scene that you saw when we won the World Series, it was like that. Just picture that, but on the plane.
Wow.
I mean, it was crazy. Guys, girlfriend, wife, everybody jump on you.
Right.
I don't even know if we realized we was on the plane.
Right.
I mean, it was just a blast.
Oh.
When it was just celebrating because, like I said, it had been so long.
Yeah.
And the year before we came so close, we won 98 games and had to go home. Because back then there was no wild card teams.
Yeah.
You just did 2 divisions, so it's tough. And to win that and to win it, you know, in 16 innings, it's a feeling that's kind of hard to describe. Right. I mean, it's awesome.
Now, let's talk about Game 6. I mean, obviously there was a lot of stuff leading up to this, but like, where were you when Game 6 happened and that ball went between his legs?
Oh, man. I was in the clubhouse, something that.
Did you think it was over? Were you like?
I did.
Okay.
And you're taught, even like in Little League, that's not over till the last out.
Right.
But I said it's over. Everybody thought it was over.
Right.
Because I think it was a 3-run league going in. We had 2 outs, nobody on base. There was like a hit, another hit, a wild pitch, error, and then Kevin Mitchell he was in the clubhouse too. The bat boy had to come in the clubhouse to find him. They pinch hit, so he had to on his jersey, go up there and he got the hit.
Yeah.
And then we finally tied it. And then obviously the ground ball.
Right.
Once we won it, I mean, we knew we was going to win Game 7. There was no way they could beat us again. Yes, because even Game 7 we was down 3 runs early, but we knew it was just a matter of time. We had them because it was no way possible they was going to bounce back from that.
And where were you during that last pitch of Game 7?
Game 7, I was in the bullpen. Actually, from a selfish standpoint, because I didn't pitch that well in the World Series. Roscoe was pitching, and Jim Rice was on deck waiting to hit him. But if Marty Barrett, who made the last out, if he would have got on base, I was going to come in to face Jim Rice.
Oh, wow.
So I was kind of hoping Barrett would have got on base. I mean, it's selfish, but because I wanted to redeem myself and face Jim Rice. But Jesse struck him out. I mean, it was the greatest.
And did you come running out?
We all came running out like kids, jumping on each other.
Yeah.
I mean, it was the greatest thing ever.
Right.
Yeah.
Greatest moment, I'm assuming.
Yes.
One of them of your life.
Yes, one of them. Yes.
Okay, so now let's talk for a second about kind of that night and then what leads up to people seeing that there's a red flag in your behavior.
Yep.
Ultimately, you don't make the parade.
Right.
Now, by the way, is the parade the next day? Is it a couple of days later?
Next day.
It's the next day. So talk me through what happened that night.
So, actually, I would say after the 85 season and off season was my first experience with drugs, heavy drugs. Cocaine was my drug of choice. I always smoked marijuana and drink after games. But during the season of 86, I would always we'll use a little bit here and there, but never before the night before the game.
Yeah.
86, we win the World Series. We all happy. I go inside after we celebrate on the field. I call my parents, tell my dad we won the World Series. Unfortunately, they called to a drug dealer. That's when what should have been the greatest day of my life up until that point turned to be the worst day at that time, because calling him, my deal was go pick up drugs and meet everybody at the club.
Right.
That night, I went to the house to get the drugs, and I never made it back to the club. I mean, the clock just started spinning.
Right.
I'm in the house with people I don't know.
Right.
Were
they celebrating with you?
I mean, they were celebrating.
Okay.
I'm buying everything for everybody. I'm so excited, so happy. I mean, just going in the drug dealer, obviously just throwing it all out there because, the celebration, and plus I'm giving all this money. The clock started spinning. I'm thinking I'll go home in an hour. Okay, I'll leave in an hour. Now the sun's coming up.
Right.
Now the parade, you see the parade on TV, and that's when it really hit me. I was like, oh my God.
So you were watching it on TV.
I screwed up. I watched the beginning of it, and I left to go home. I mean, I looked at I can't imagine being up all night. Looks like a mess. I get home.
So you didn't even attempt to make it?
No. You get home, there's no cell phone, so I had a phone. I must have had 100 messages from my parents, the team, Daryl, everybody's calling. It was one of the worst feelings that you could possibly have, because now, all the denial that I was in, now everybody's going to know something.
Right.
The shame, the guilt. Now I just, from exhaustion, pass out, sleep. I'm out. Later that day, a couple of players come by the house, knocking on the door. I'm looking through the people. I didn't want to answer. I didn't want to be bothered. My mom them called, asked me what's going on. My mom actually knew, I had a problem from the year before.
Yeah.
She knew something was up. She said,
"Did your teammates know you had a problem?"
I think some of them knew. I used with some of them, but everybody thought that it was okay. When you're doing well, you kind of push on the rug.
Well, especially back then. I mean, I think that it was really prevalent. Cocaine was everyone did it, and it was like a party drug. You did it when you were happy. It wasn't like people were going and using and doing it because they were sad. It was something that was, I don't want to say accepted, but sort of. I mean, a lot of people did it at the time. And so I wanted to ask you if that's the first time, though, people really saw that there was a problem.
Yes, I think so. Because I would say the people, like my parents, my family knew. Because I was the youngest, so they knew what was going on. But obviously, caretaker, so everybody you're fine, just drink, you're okay, it's not that bad, you're fine. Because I was paying, I had my whole family I was taking care of, so it kind of pushed it to work. And I was in denial also, so I wasn't going to accept it was a problem at the time. And still at the time, I'm not sure if it had got to the problem at the time, but it was definitely on his way. But missing the parade, that's when the team called me in and said, hey, what's going on? I'm like, I had too much to drink, overslept. So some of them kind of like, possible, but then the general manager, Frank Cashin, the PR guy, David, kind of knew someone, right? Because it was rumors during the season that a couple of players on the team was doing drugs, which I denied. I got called into the Major League Baseball office that season, and they asked me, they hearing rumors about the clubs hanging out, stuff going on. I denied everything, but now they come full circle.
Did the media catch the fact that you weren't at the parade?
They
did. And were there articles written about that?
Not really, because I still was like the quote unquote golden boy. So
got it. Okay.
Doc oversleeps, no big deal. So a week later we go to the White House. I make it to the White House, we do that. But then when I go home, I want to say, I can't remember the date, but I think early January before spring training, I get into a scuffle with the cops, the Tampa police. Me and my nephew and some friends were getting beat up. I won the lawsuit, but got put on probation.
Beat up by cops?
Yeah, I got beat up by cops. Yeah.
Why?
They had been harassing me the whole time, but where I was wrong, they had followed us. We had just did a charity softball game. I was leaving Applebee's, and it was me and my friends all played ball. It was like 5 of us, all these fancy cars. So we're at the was a cop in there. And prior to that, many times they pulled me over and say, hey, what you doing? Where you going? Whose car is this? Which they knew whose car it was. So they knew I was doing something, but I just never got caught. Like they would pull me over, have the dogs, but I would never have nothing on me. So, but they knew because they was following me and different things all the time, and the people I was hanging with. So this one particular night, we're going in Sheffield in a Corvette. My nephew, they throw the lights on him. He don't see it. He don't pull over. Then they throw the lights on me. I pull over, and I was already pissed before I asked me. So the cop goes, where you going? I said, why'd you pull me over? You put the lights on him. So I started talking back to him. He goes, just do it. I said, let me see your license. I said, you already know who I am.
Yeah.
But when I made a mistake when he said get out of the car, talking about as I get out of the car, cops are pulling it up in. So it was already premeditated on this, so they're pulling it in. And finally, I'm like, why do you guys keep effing with me? Mm-hmm. So he goes, turn around, you're going to jail. When I make the mistake, when he went for the cuffs, I grabbed his hand. I was completely wrong and out of control when I grabbed his hand. Once I grabbed his hand, they all...
But it sounds like they were waiting for you to screw up.
Yeah, they was. And once they cuffed me and put the shackles on me, they said he was hitting me and beating me. And luckily, there was a couple there, older white couples, why you guys doing that? So I played like I was out. They took me about 3 miles up the road. And so they called the paramedics. When the paramedics were took to the hospital, they put 2 black cops in the paramedics to go with me so it makes it seem like this. But when we went to court, the black cops admitted that they weren't there on the scene.
Oh, my gosh.
Case, but then, obviously, with something like that, and from me missing the parade, the mess right away say something's going on.
Right.
The next year I get to spring training. We're hanging out with a couple of guys. We're doing drugs all night. And the next day I get to the park. And I just knew that it felt good. I didn't know how long it stayed in the system, what it was. So the man said, hey, we want to test you. I said, test me for what? I said, drugs, just to make sure everything's good, to clear the air. And I'm like, you can text me. Knowing, I didn't know. How long it's been. I didn't know anything about it, so I took the test. I failed the test. They said... Do
some people refuse to take the test?
Yes, because I didn't have to.
Oh, my
I could
gosh.
have said, no, I'm not taking the test, and nothing would have happened.
Got it.
But eventually, it was going to come out. Eventually.
I see, yeah.
So I took the test. Next day, they come in and say, you tested positive. First, I said, no, it can't be right. Then I finally broke down crying. I said, you know what? You're right. I did it.
Right.
How long you been doing it? I said, don't matter. Yeah, I did it. So they say, you can go to treatment. We'll continue paying you, or we can suspend you without pay. I said, okay, I'll go to treatment. Scared to death. I mean, you got to remember, I went from Rookie of the Year, Cy Young, All-Star team, World Series.
Yeah, not only scared to death about you personally, what you were going to have to go through, but like how people were going to see you now,
that was
right?
the whole thing, yes.
Yeah.
I didn't know how people were going to take me, so first I got to go back to the house. I got to tell my parents, which that was the hardest thing. I crushed them. I mean, my parents are older, and they're like third grade education from Georgia, working in cotton field, and I got to tell them that. And the thing that really crushed me, my mom said, it's okay, son, now you get to get the help you need. But my dad never said a word. Never said a word. He never talked about it. He just, but by him being quiet, I knew I had hurt him. I knew I hurt him bad. Right. So now I got to fly to New York, go to Smithers. I go in this van. When I get there, all these kids, they battled all the schools. I guess to see it, they're there clapping. Doc, we love you. So there. I'm crying. I walk in there. Didn't know anything about it.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, this is like, I'm done. And it's funny because, well, not funny, but the girl who I just started dating, while I was in rehab, I asked her to marry me, but I only asked her to marry me because I was afraid that nobody was going to like me anymore and it was going to be different, but at least I'll have her.
Yeah.
And, So
is that who you ended up marrying?
I ended up marrying.
Oh my gosh!
But then that's a whole other story. I screwed that up too. I ended up marrying, but when before I was in there, I still was in denial that I had a problem.
Yeah.
I just felt like it's no big deal. I'll be able to stop. I can't go my whole life without drinking and doing something.
Right.
I'm 22. No, yeah, 22 at the time. I'm like, hey, man, I can't go the rest of my life without drinking, not knowing that all these problems gonna come later.
Yeah.
But I'm in there, and they still they bring me food from outside. They doing all this stuff. They give me the newspaper. So when we had the meetings and learning 12 steps and all this stuff, I really went into it. I was just counting down my days.
Right, going through the motions.
Yeah, going through the motion, watching the news, seeing what the Mets are doing. Do my 30 days, I get out. I start by working out. Then I figured out that all these people, they still love me. My first game, it was sold out. Everybody's there. I pitched well. So it's like I hadn't missed anything there.
Right.
But then the girl who asked to marry me, she's planning for the wedding.
Oh, gosh.
Like in Tampa. We're going to get married in November, and this is May. I'm like, man, now I'm thinking, how can I get out of this?
Right.
Days are going, and I didn't want to hurt her.
Right.
So I'm like, man, now season over. I pitched good. I won 15 games. Led the team to wins. Everything's back. Still drinking. I wasn't using because it was testing. But I was still drinking.
Yeah.
So now November comes. The girl who I really liked, that was my high school sweetheart, I run into her the night before I get married, and I can't even look at her. It was just meant to be. I'm looking at her, and I'm like, man. And I didn't want to marry the girl. I didn't love her. I mean, we only dated for like 2 months, but it's come up, so I got married anyway. But it felt like me and her have talked about this all the time. She's remarried and moved on and all that, and we're good friends now. But I mean, I heard her bad for a thing, but we talked about it. That the reason I married her, she knew that really wasn't love, but she didn't know why. And I told her the whole thing.
Right. Well, it's not always meant to be like that.
Yeah.
Incidentally, whatever happened to your high school sweetheart? Did you ever date her again?
Yeah, well, we tried, but it wasn't the same no more because
the time wasn't right anymore.
Time wasn't right anymore, and then this was basically like maybe. Let me see here. My mom passed 4 years, maybe like 6 years ago. I ran into her, was talking. She was going through divorce. I wasn't married, and was talking, and we tried. But it wasn't the same anymore because we were trying to live what we had back in high school, but we're two different people now.
Right, of course.
Everything's different, and it just, it didn't work out.
Not the same.
No.
Okay, so you had an amazing time with the Mets, but then you moved on to the Yankees. So after this rehab, you came back to the Mets for a little while.
Came back to the Mets for a little bit.
And then how did you end up with the Yankees?
So what happened, I came back to the Mets after I was in 87. I went 7 years, stayed clean the whole time from drugs. Drinking the whole time. 1994, I pitched opening day in Chicago. I pitched, a guy, Tuffy Rose, hits 3 homers off me. I break my foot. And so now I'm pissed. So when I was rehabbing my foot,
oh my goodness,
I was going to the minors. I was hanging out in the strip clubs. I was steady drinking. So I'll go to the minor league, rehab, throw, and then right away, I'm like, wow, they're not testing me down here.
I see. So you started again.
Started back up. And it was meant to be. I started back up, and now I go to minor league start, and the guy is there to test me from them. It was like somebody saw me. I don't know. He said, we're here to test you. So how to get to the Yankees, right?
Yeah.
So in 94, I break my foot, and I'm working out. I notice they're not testing me because I'm rehabbing with the minor league players.
Yeah.
So I go to strip club, I'm sorry. Some girl had something I start back using. Like, man. And then the next time I go to throw, the guy from Major Baseball is drug testing. I'm like, oh, shit. And I got nowhere around it. I'm like, well, I haven't done that before.
Could you deny doing it? Could you say no this time or no?
When they're there, if you don't test, it's like a positive
they'll know.
test.
Yeah, okay.
But then I'm thinking, I'm like, well, I haven't done it in 2 days. I'm trying to count hours, all this crazy stuff. I say, maybe I'm all right. Or maybe they'll give me another shot.
Yeah.
Maybe. So I do it. I test positive again. So I say, now we got to give you 90 days. Because first it's 60 days, there's 90 days. So you're going to suspend me 90 days. No, 60. I'm sorry, 60 days. This was my first one. The first one, the Mets sent me to rehab, so it was 60 days.
Okay.
But wow. So they sent me to Betty Ford. So I go to Betty Ford. I do my month there, do everything. And I know what I have to do because this time I go to Betty Ford, I want to learn.
Yeah.
So I'm learning everything about it, doing the 12 steps, doing everything. So before the season, when I got out.
So you got some tools while you were there, you think?
Yeah, got the tools,
Yeah.
definitely. And plus, my wife at the time, who I married, she was pregnant. So I fly back home, but I had to go to New York first to see the doctors before I go home.
Okay.
Saw doctors, and there's one doctor who don't know nothing about nothing. He goes, well, why don't you just drink instead of using? Even though I know you're not supposed to do that, but the trick is, I'm thinking, my sick thoughts was like, yeah, maybe I should just drink and not do nothing else. on the plane in Tampa the next day. I started drinking on the plane.
Right after rehab.
Right after rehab. I get home. I didn't go home for 3 days. Right back on the bench again. Right back at that. Then get tested. Test positive. At that point, it's like I had given up myself.
At that point, you knew you had a real
I knew I had a real problem. Yes.
But you didn't have the wherewithal to say, I want to stop.
No. So I did it. But it was like I kind of wanted to get caught because I didn't have I guess my ego would allow me to call him and say, hey, look, I relapsed. I need help. So,
but I'm just curious from someone who's listening to this, your love of the game, or I don't know, the fear that your father would be angry, or that the money would run out because you wouldn't have a job. None of that stuff stopped you from doing drugs, which I think is an important thing that you said no, because people that have an addiction, people that don't have an addiction don't understand how difficult it is to stop.
Oh, it's very, very much. I mean, you're sick. You're not just, I wasn't myself. I was very sick.
Yes.
I was in denial.
Yeah.
Even after testing positive and going to treatment and knowing myself, they don't speak for 3 days. And like I said, I had kids, it didn't matter. My wife is pregnant.
Yeah.
My dad and mom already hurt him one time.
Yeah.
I got my baseball career. I'm doing something that I love. The only thing I know, making a decent amount of money.
Yeah.
Just built a house. And still, the drug was more important than all of that because of the sickness. And my ego wouldn't allow me to ask for help. And all I needed was that one doctor to say, drink and don't do anything else.
Yeah.
Knowing I can't drink.
What a shitty doctor.
Yes. Because those doctors, they have the job, but they don't have the experience. Right. So, but I can't blame him.
No, of course not.
Because I knew better. And so I go back out, and then when I get that letter, they said, and when I tested positive, I could have said, because off season, I could have said, I'm on a cruise, I'm this, I'm that. But it's like I wanted to get caught because I said,
you were
okay.
just done.
Yeah, I know. I went took the test knowing what was going to happen.
Yeah.
So they go, what are you thinking? The amount you have in your system could have died. This and that, blah, 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 blah. And I still sitting and say, well, basically I was trying to kill myself. Technically I was, but I wasn't.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Kind of hoping that one time I do it, I just still. I mean, it's a selfish thing, but that's where I was.
Yeah.
So then I get a letter from Buzz Selig. And I'm reading the letter, and it said you're suspended for the entire 95 season.
Wow.
And I'm looking at the letter, I'm reading the letter, and I keep reading the letter, and I put it down, walk around, I go read the letter again. I'm like, something I got to miss. But that hit hard.
Yeah.
And again, instead of saying, okay, I got to go back in and get help. And they tried to say, go back. I said, no, I'll be fine. The next 2 months, I went hard. Partying. Missing my kids' birthdays. I mean, I just hit rock bottom. I mean, hard. Very hard. And I still was like in denial because I'm still like, who can I call? I want to go to Japan and play.
Right.
Because somebody told me you can still go to Japan and play. And this guy, Ray Negron, who's a good friend of mine now, he works with the Yankees, he said, I'll get you to Japan, but I got this guy I want you to meet. And this guy's name was Ron Dock. He was he has I don't know how many years clean at the time, but he became my sponsor. Said we're gonna go to a meeting every day. We're gonna work out. Then we're gonna eat together. Then you can spend time with your family. So
finally, you found someone who was not enabling.
Right, wasn't enabling. Was caring. And every day they come by in the morning, pick me up. We go work out. Come home, I shower, we go eat, we go to a meeting. That was the routine. Then I started liking myself again. My kids started forgetting me. I started picking my kids up from school, spending time with my wife, spending time with my parents, and started getting back on track. And then I told the guy, I said, you know what? I don't want to go to Japan. I want to take this time and get my life back together. I don't care about baseball. I got to get my life back now because I understand I hurt these people, but I want to do it for myself.
So what'd you do that year to get your life back together?
Going to meetings every day.
Oh, that was what you did, just being active in the program. Active,
yes.
So you didn't go back to rehab?
Home group? No, I didn't go back to rehab. Okay. I just found a good home group.
And it worked that year?
Because these guys was old school. They knew, call you out, go over what you're doing. They had, certain nights we go to dance, we go skating. So I felt like, okay, now.
You had a purpose.
Yes.
Yeah.
I started understanding it. So I got on track to doing that, and then the scouts started coming and watching me throw.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And then Sheffield, my nephew was with the Marlins. He said, I get you a trial with the Marlins. But still, I was out the 95 season. But in the 95, my suspension was up. So I went down to Miami. I threw. And they said, okay, we'll sign it. They offered me a 2-year deal. But I couldn't officially sign, but we shook hands. And then they said, I told them, I said, I'm going to go to Puerto Rico, throw a little bit because I hadn't thrown. They said, okay. Ray had been with the Yankees, working for them for a long time. So he told me, he goes, I got good news and bad news. I said, okay, what's the bad news? He goes, the Marlins, they say you got to go to Puerto Rico first, and then they'll decide whether they want to guarantee a contract. He said, or you can sign with the Yankees. They'll guarantee your contract right now. And plus, I want to go back to New York anyway. I love New York. I want to make it right with the fans. So I took the deal with the Yankees. The next day, Gary calls me and goes, man, what you doing? I thought we had a deal. He said, yeah, but Dombrowski, who was general manager, said I had to go to Puerto Rico first. He never said that. So Ray never talked to the Marlins. He made the whole thing up.
Oh, wow.
To get me back to the Yankees. I mean, it worked out good. I mean, the whole thing up, I'm like, man, you made me look bad, but
how did the fans react when they found out you were coming back to New York?
I think it was mixed. I think the Yankees fans was happy I'm coming, but the Mets fans had mixed emotions.
Did they see you as a traitor? I'm curious.
No, because I made it sure when I did my press conference, I told them that I love what the Yankees are doing. Mr. Steinbrenner, I thank you for giving me the opportunity to play. But I said, Met fans, I'm sorry the way it ended. But I wanted to come back, but unfortunately, they wanted to cut ties, which I understand.
Yeah.
Move on. And so I went to the Yankees. But the thing that you bring up with that question, just to fast forward a little bit.
Yeah.
So I played with the Yankees for 2 years, 96, 97. And then I called the Mets after that. Steve Phillips, the manager, I said, hey, I'd like to come back to the Mets. He goes, unfortunately, we got no room. We wish you the best. So I signed with Cleveland, 98, 99. After 99, which I wasn't the pitcher I was before, but I was pretty good.
Yeah.
I called him again. So he said, unfortunately, Doc, we wish you the best. We got nothing there. So then in 2000, I signed with Houston, pitched 1 game, got traded to Tampa, pitched 8 games, got released. Called the Mets again. I said, I'll go to the minors. I'll do whatever. I just want to come back to the Mets because I still want to make it right with the fans.
Yeah.
I said, no, unfortunately, can't do it. So Mr. Steinbrenner called me if I want to still play. I was living in Tampa at the time. I said, yes. He said, come work out with us. If it don't work out, you come work for me. Went with the Yankees, do a little bit, worked out. I actually got the pitch against the Mets. I beat them. I beat the Mets in the World Series, and I was going to retire. I called the Mets again, say, can I sign a 1-day contract so I can retire as a Met? And they said, no.
Oh, wow.
That really hurt it. Understood. But it goes full circle because now next year they're going to retire my number.
Right.
So
exactly.
So
we're going to get to that in a minute. But I do want to talk to you about your no-hitter.
Yes.
So I think as people that are not, into baseball like you guys, we don't understand the mindset. Like, we don't understand what's going on. The only time we kind of got an inside scoop on that was when Kevin Costner played, the baseball player in For Love of the Game or whatever.
And he basically stole that from my movie, that whole thing. But, my movie's coming out next year. They're getting to shoot now with Ben Stiller and Charlie Baby Productions.
Oh, my gosh.
They're doing a life story on my whole thing from childhood to the no-hitter.
Oh, my God. Until the no-hitter. Who's playing you?
They had decided, but I'm going to show you this guy. I can't remember his name.
Okay.
I'm going to show you the picture.
Who did you always want to play you?
Denzel.
Obviously.
Only because and when I pitched no-hitter, we met with Warner Brothers. They bought the rights to the movie.
He's too old at this point.
Old. I met with Denzel. This was in 97. I met with him, and we had it all set. But then I guess you'll know better than me in that. For the production with movies and stuff, they had did the writing, something what they call it, the ghostwriter or whatever. With me, I showed them where I grew up, showed them my high school in Lily Field. They gave me a check. Then 2 months later, they disappeared. I never heard from them again.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So,
oh my goodness! Yeah. All right, but it's happening now.
Now it's happening.
Okay.
Now it's real now. So.
All right. So to go back to your no-hitter, what are you thinking? How do you compartmentalize all the noises, all the things? Man. Like mentally, first tell me what it's like.
That was crazy because that year I started off 0-3, and they basically benched me. So when a pitcher gets benched, that means you're not getting in the game if you're up 10 or down 10.
Right.
They was trying to decide whether to send me to the minors or release me.
Okay.
So I would go to the park every day, just sit there, nothing's going on. And unfortunately, David Cohn got an aneurysm in his shoulder.
Oh.
And so they had to take him out of rotation. And Mr. Steinbrenner is the only guy that said, put Gooden back into the rotation. Let him pitch. Joe Torre, the manager, he didn't want to put me back in. But Steinbrenner said, put Gooden back in or I'm going to fire you. Put me back in the rotation. The third start in. The first 3 games back in was so-so. And then the day that I was going to pitch the no-hitter, my dad was having open heart surgery the following day. So I had a ticket to go home to be with him. But that day I woke up, I said, he'll probably want me to pitch. Because all I could think about is all the days that he was training me and Gary. Yeah. I said, he'll probably want me to pitch. So I called Joe Torre, said, I'm going to pitch. I'm coming in tonight to pitch. He goes, no, I'll be with your dad. I said, no, I'll see you guys tonight.
Right.
Then I called my mom. I said, Mom, I'm not coming home. She goes, no, you have to come home. Your dad needs your support. Everybody's going to be here. We're waiting on you. I don't want to hear it. And so I ended up hanging the phone up on my mom because I was feeling guilty. Yeah. But that's something you don't do. You don't hang up on your mom. Yeah. I had to. So the whole day before I got to the park, it was like this dark cloud. Am I making the right decision? Am I going to see my dad again? Because he had been on Dallas for like 15 years. So I get to the park. Mel Stoudemire came up to me and goes, how do you feel? Because Mel Stoudemire was my pitching coach with the Mets and now with the Yankees. So I said, I'm fine. The first 3 innings of that game, I was standing in the walkway between the clubhouse and the dugout. Sometimes tearing out whether I made the right decision or not. And so I didn't know. I see my dad, is he going to be okay? What's going on? Not into the 6th inning. I was looking at the scoreboard to see who was going to come up to hit. And you see no runs, no hits, no errors. I'm like, wow.
And then you're like, there's something to this.
There's something there, yeah. So I was able to put my dad's situation aside.
Were they watching?
Yes,
From the hospital?
They was watching from the hospital.
Okay.
The doctor told me he was watching. So in a pitcher no-hitter, obviously I didn't sleep that night. And it's a photo where they carry him off the field. All I could think about was my dad going to be okay. Pitcher no-hitter. You know, a month ago I wasn't even pitching. But
Right.
Last year I was sitting at home, not knowing if I was going to play again. Not knowing if I could ever,
Right.
get healthy.
You must have been on top of the world.
Oh, man. It was one of the greatest feelings in baseball.
Yeah.
I get to the hospital the next day. I take him up off from the game. He had the surgery.
Yeah.
He was on life support. But doctor said he did see the game. He was crying. He passed away. He never came after that. But the last game he saw me pitch was the no-hitter.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so
I didn't know that story.
That,
yeah. That's amazing. Yeah. That was the last thing he saw.
Last thing he saw, yeah.
But what is it like physically? Were you exhausted?
Oh, mentally and physically.
Yeah.
I was done because everything that was going on prior to that
was exhausting already.
Yes,
yeah.
already. And then Seattle, at that time, they had the best team in baseball for his hitting. K. Griffey Jr., Alex Rodriguez, Edgar Martinez, Jay Bruner, Paul Sorrento. I mean, they line up was stacked.
Yeah.
So the pitching no hitter against that team and everything that I have been through and now what my dad's going through.
Right.
There's just so much stuff going on.
Right. Amazing. Okay. Can you recall a particularly tough opponent or game?
Okay.
In your career?
I guess I'm trying to think. The toughest hitter was Chili Davis by far.
Okay.
He was when he was with the San Francisco Giants, and I was with the Mets. I could not get this guy out. I tried to intimidate him. I throw balls over his head, throw balls on his chin. Could not get him out. And then he went to the Yankees, and also Cleveland. Same thing. Could not get him out. One of the toughest guys. And for his game, I would probably say, most emotional game I would say when I was with the Yankees pitching against the Mets at Shea Stadium.
Oh yeah.
Because
and how did the fans treat you that night?
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Because the thing was, when I got released by Tampa, I tried the Yankees, and then they called me in the office the next morning. They said, we need a pitcher in New York. It was a day-night doubleheader. The day game was at Shea Stadium. The night game was at Yankee Stadium. They said, George said, I want you to pitch the day game against the Mets and stick it up there. You know what?
Right.
So all I wanted was to go back to Shea Stadium one more time, but I couldn't say I wasn't ready. So I went there. I warmed it up before the game, and nothing's working. But for some reason, when I got in the game, being at Shea Stadium, it was like I was back at home again.
Right.
I was accustomed to the mound, fans, and everything just clicked. And I beat the Mets right there at Shea. So that was probably the toughest game for me to go through emotionally.
Right, emotionally.
And coming from the visiting dugout, wearing a Yankee uniform.
Right. Right. Obviously, winning World Series for both teams is an amazing accomplishment. What was the difference between the two? And incidentally, did you make it to the parade for the Yankees?
96, I made those two.
Okay.
But you know what's funny? The night before, I stayed in the city to make sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
And were you good?
Yes, I was good. Yes, everything was good because I made sure. Because that was one of the things I was like, man, I'm not missing this one because you don't think you get an opportunity. Yeah. Even though one of the things that kept me kind of, I guess, a little depressed or guilty was missing that first one because you can't do it over. Yeah. But with the Yankees, I was like, in 96, I'm like, I'm not missing this one. I'm staying in the city. Right. I'm going to get a hotel right close by where we're going to be. Right. So I made it.
Did you have the same relationships with the guys on the Yankees that you did with the Mets? Because it seemed like you were so close to those guys on the Mets.
It was different because the guys with the Mets was young. A lot of us came up together from the minors. And the Yankees was more like an all-star team. Besides, they had Jeter, Posada, Bernie, and there's one more guy I'm missing, Andy Pettit. Those guys came to the system, but everybody else came from different teams. Right. And it was veterans. I mean, good guys. But it was different. With the Mets, all of us came up together, mostly besides
so you
Carter.
guys were like family.
It was like family.
Yeah.
And the year before, we came so close and lost out, and so it was just different.
Right.
They all were special, though, in a different way.
Of course. After you retired, you went through some very public struggles still with addiction again. I guess my first question with that is I know a lot of retired athletes, and I think it's a common phenomenon that they struggle with what to do when they retire. A lot of them become alcoholics. A lot of them take a deep dive into something, whatever it is, because they can't find their purpose anymore. They're so used to being put on a pedestal. They're so used to, having one purpose to do all the time, and then they don't know that they're good at anything else. Right. So my question would be, what happened to you? But also, talk me through what you would say to people that are retiring every year, how they can, move forward with their life and not struggle or not think that was the best years of their life and they'll never amount to anything again.
But you're definitely right on because the adrenaline rush you get, the adrenaline rush that I got as an athlete, playing in New York, playing with both teams, being at the top, all this stuff going on, then all of a sudden it's over.
Yeah.
And trying to find that adrenaline to match it.
And then you're a soccer dad or something.
Yes, 100%. You can't match that. So
Right.
you got to find something. But I would say to athletes now and young guys, if you're playing sports at any level, especially major league level, whatever you want to do when you retire, start doing it now during the off season, so you get a feel of it. So when your career over, whether it's an injury, whether you get released, or whether you retire, you got something to go into. Because as you say, a lot of us been playing from little league, 7, 8 years old, all the way to 35 or whatever. That's why, like you just said, the suicide rate's up, the divorce rate's up.
Right.
Jail, prisons, death, all this stuff is up. My thing was, when I retired, I think I retired too soon. I wasn't ready. I was 35. I still felt like I had time to go. I was with the Yankees in spring training, and George told me I had hurt my knee, and they said it's going to take about 3 months to get it right. Then you got to go to the minors for 2 months, then the season's over. Or George said, you can come work for me. So I said, wow. First thing hit me because I wasn't going to meetings no more and all that. And I was still drinking. I said, wow, no more. First thing hit, and I'm just being honest, was, wow, no more drug testing.
Right.
Not thinking about, let me sleep on it one night.
So it was still in your bones, kind of.
Still there.
Like,
It's still there because I thought I was like, quote unquote, healthy now. I'm healed. I'm good now. I'm different.
So you thought you could try it a couple times and it wouldn't affect you?
Yeah, and then as soon as I said, I started thinking, wow, even though I had some time, it still hit me. No more drug testing. So I said, okay, I'll come work for you, George. And then that's when I called the Mets for them retirement. And said no. That night, I went out with my family, went to dinner, talked about it. I didn't even tell them what was going on, but I was already premeditated what I was going to do.
Right.
I retired, but then the next 2 spring trainings were both in March. I got arrested both times because mentally, when I was got back in the program, I still was missing a game, and I hadn't filled in that void. So spring training, I'm like, oh man, normally I should be playing or doing something. I'm not playing, so I started drinking more, partying more.
Yeah.
I got arrested. A year later, same thing in March, spring training.
Yeah.
So it was attached right there.
Wow.
Yeah, so I would just say to guys, like you say, find something you want to do when you retire before it's over.
I think that's such good advice. All right, so there was a certain part of your life years later that you ended up in celebrity rehab.
Yeah.
How did we get to that point?
I still don't know how that happened. So
well, did you do it for the paycheck, or you were really struggling?
I needed it, but what was weird was I was going through a divorce, and I'm not justifying anything. I'm going through a divorce with my second wife now. First marriage, I screwed that all. I messed that all up. I threw that away. Second wife, I'm with for all the wrong reasons. We had 2 kids, and then got a divorce. Well, we're going through a divorce. And I hadn't seen my kids in like 6 months. I talked to them in 6 months.
Okay.
At that time, my daughter was 1, my son was 4. So I found myself, got kicked out. I had to leave the house because she said I threatened to kill her and the family, all this mess.
And you weren't talking to your kids because you were so immersed in other things?
No,
or?
those 2. She wouldn't allow me.
Oh, she wouldn't allow
She moved
you
back
to.
to Maryland.
Got it. Okay.
I was talking to my older kids, but then so I was in a hotel. Once I got in a hotel, going there by myself, thing. They say, I'm bike on it, doing it again, all over again. Look, I needed help. So I ran into Lenny Dykstra. It's funny. I ran into Lenny at the hotel with a friend, and we were talking. He goes, hey, man, I hear you going to celebrity rehab. I said, celebrity rehab, what's that? And then they had on the bike on the post, it was me, Michael Lohan, what's the girl? And from
Amy Fisher.
Amy Fisher.
Yeah.
The guys on a post. And I hadn't talked to nobody, know anything. But my agent, one of my agents at the time, I guess he talked to Dr. Drew or somebody to represent him about me coming there. And then he goes, Doc, what about celebrity rehab? Like, no, because my thing was, I knew I had a problem, but I didn't think nobody else knew.
Right.
He
Okay.
thought this would be a good way to go in there and remove that mask.
Right.
I'm like, man, I can't go. I got kids. I don't want to embarrass them. He said,
Right.
Doc, trust me. Your family, everybody that's around you, everybody, we know what you're doing.
Right.
You go to a hotel, we don't hear from you for 3 days. You look up mess, go in there. I said, why I got to go on TV? He goes, well, I don't know. And then Bob Forrest, I don't know if you remember Bob.
Of course I remember
He
Bob.
called me. I love Bob. We still
I
talk.
love Bob.
We still talk. And he said, Doc, this would be great. You don't have to go on TV if you don't want to. We could just do some work outside. I think it'd be great. He said, but if you go on, we'll get you a check, whatever. I said, hey, about the check. I'm good with that. He said, but it's up to you, whatever you want to do. He said, well, what about if I fly you out here and we talk?
Yeah.
So I said, all right. I said, from there we talk. So I said, all right, I need a treatment. What about this? He goes, man, since you're here, just try it. Just try it. He said, I'm on there, and it was cool because.
Did you think it was real? Because so many people talk about how reality TV is fake. In my opinion, listen, I was there for love addiction. It wasn't something drug related, but I thought it was real. I thought it was a great program for people that really need it.
Real. For me, it was real because it helped me in 2 ways. Number one, I got a lot of work done with Bob behind me.
Yeah.
When the TV wasn't on.
Yeah.
But for me to go on there, and like I said, remove that mask. Here I am. Yes, I have a problem. Yes, this is what I did. Yes, this is what I'm doing. This is what I did. This is why I missed the parade. This is what I was. All that.
Right.
So, to release all that, it was like,
It was the first time you admitted it, and to people, that it mattered to.
Yes, and not having somebody else tell my story. So it felt like, like the road lifted off my shoulders. Because I came clean with everything.
Right.
And,
I don't want to say I loved being on that show, but I thought it was great. It was helpful. And for me, listen, they wanted me to be on the show because of the scandal I was in and because of the notoriety I had at the moment. But in reality, I didn't deal with that when I was on it. I dealt with losing my fiance on September 11th, and I dealt with losing my father when I was 15. And I don't know if I've ever shared this with you, but my father died of a cocaine overdose when he was 44. And I had to spend years trying to, as a young kid, watch it where he thought no one knew, right? And then, be part of, interventions and hoping that I wasn't going to be someone that grew up without a dad. And I remember when I first saw you on the show, I remember thinking it was so great that you were on there because I came from a position of knowing from the child, right? Of knowing how awful of a loss it would be if something had happened to you. And, so that's why I appreciated meeting you at the very beginning because I knew you from New York and your history as a baseball player and watching you as a kid. But for me, it was more special being able to meet you because I knew in the back of my head, you were getting the help and how devastated your child would be if you weren't here. So that was my connection with you originally.
And thanks for sharing it right now because like that I need to hear it because a lot of times I talk to my kids, I know I hurt them bad, but they never would tell me how they really felt. But I always tell them all the times, I screwed up. I know I done some bad things. I missed your parties. I missed this. I did this. I divorced your mom for the wrong reasons, all this stuff. But we had the family intervention and stuff. I just need you guys to tell me how you feel. But they'll just cry.
Right.
So I knew I crushed them, and I wanted to hear from them how I did it because I need to feel that.
Right.
I need to feel it. But I just knew, but they would never say it. But to hear you just tell me now from the kid's side,
And it is so hard when you're a child because you don't know how to verbalize that because you're scared. You don't want to say something to make your parent mad, but also you're angry. There's so many emotions. But losing the parent is worse because then you haven't said what you wanted to say. Right. Do you know what I mean? So even though they may not have had the words to say it, they at least still have you. And they can be pains in the asses and mean to you or whatever it is now. But I think it's because they know that you're here. You know what I mean? And they appreciate you're here. And it's so hard to verbalize any of that while someone's around. It's sometimes easier to make sense of it after they're gone. And luckily for them and for you, you didn't have to go through that.
But So I always tell myself I do not want to be dead. My kids are like, I got to live with that. How did your dad die? Because they'll forget about all the great things you did. They'll just remember that last thing.
Right.
I get it. But then I also say I have to do it for myself. I do it for myself, then it's doing it for everybody else.
Yeah.
I had to get to that point because...
And I know that you said you didn't think you would make it to 50.
No.
Like you thought...
That? Yeah, I didn't. I thought there's no way because there's so much going on and I'm like, I've done so much damage.
Yeah.
Every time I get a cold or I don't feel good,
right.
I don't want to take no physical because I'm taking my kidneys, my liver, something. But everything's been fine. And so now I feel like I'm still here. I'm sure people lost their life doing a lot less than I've done.
Yeah.
So I think it's keeping me around because baseball was my dream. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, because baseball was my dream. Mm-hmm. Now I'm living a dream for others just to share my message. That's all.
Yeah.
Just to be accountable, just to show up, and just to share my story. And I'm not ashamed of it anymore because I don't live that life anymore.
Right.
So it's easier now to talk about it.
Right. Exactly. So obviously you've gone through a lot of ups and downs, but clearly you've been noticed and people want to remember you. They are retiring your number next year. Where were you when you got that call?
I was at home, and it was funny because Steve Cohen, when he called me, I've talked to him maybe twice at the Old Timers game and then once at a charity event. But I never talked to him on the phone. So when he called, he goes, "Hey, I speak to Dwight Gooden." I said, "Speaking." He goes, "This is Steve Cohen, the owner of the Mets." I said, "Hey, Steve, how you doing?" He goes, "Are you sitting down?" I said, "Yes." Then I say, "Who the F is this?" Because I'm like,
you thought you were being punked.
A prank call. Yeah. He said, "This is Steve Cohen." And I'm like, I intentionally hung the phone up, but I called that number back, and it was the Mets, the office. I'm like, "Oh man!" So I had to apologize to him.
You hung up on him and called him back.
I thought it was a prank, so I called it back.
Right.
That number. So I'm like,
great.
"Oh man!" So I apologized to him, and he said, "Yeah, we're going to retire."
Did he laugh?
Yeah, he laughed a bit, but I still think he was like, "Man, this guy is like cursing at me." So He said, we're going to retire your number next year. Well deserved. We don't know the date yet. They told me the date now. So I look at that as like a celebration for myself, my family, my fans, friends, everyone who's been with me from day one as a fan, and everyone who's been with me to help me still be to this point, because without so many people in my corner, it don't happen as a career. And then my first wife was married 17 years. For her, basically being the mother and the dad, because when I was playing ball, even when I was healthy, I missed a lot of school activities because I'm in New York, they're in Florida, to do all that. So many people made it possible for me to play the part. Right. So I look at it as a celebration.
Right. Absolutely. And how special is it that Daryl's number is getting retired the same year? Have you guys talked about it?
Yeah, we talked about it.
Yeah.
We had a great talk about it. We laughed about it because we basically live the same life. We got the same middle names. We've been to the same rehabs. Yeah. Same institutions, jails, prisons, all this stuff the same. And now for it to happen the same year, when neither one of us thought we'd be here. Right. He's doing great with his ministry now. Everything's going well. And I'm just more proud of him than I am myself, basically, because with me, I look at it, I'm glad for myself, but I look at it for everybody. Right. It's a big celebration. But I'm very, very proud of him.
You've been given, or you've had a lot of accomplishments in your life. Yes. Where does this fall in that lineup, having your number retired?
This number one, because I'll tell you, I was trying to get back to the Mets to retire as a Met, but to have your number retired, that's like the highest honor a team can give you. Now I think I can close the book on my career, because there's always, you always want to have that one day where you can go back out there and tell the fans you're sorry. Yeah. Tell them, this is how I feel. You guys are part of this. Yeah. And now I get to have that day. Earlier this year, in September, I got inducted into the Negro League Museum Hall of Fame. Oh, wow. Which was that was amazing. Yeah. They hit a history, and they walked through the museum with my kids and grandkids. It's amazing. And now to have them all there at the stadium when they hang my number up there with a lot of grace, I mean, that's I can't really find the words, but I'm sure, hopefully I get through it, I'll get emotional. Yeah. I'm there, but even if I get emotional, who cares? Yeah, who cares? I think everyone else will be pretty emotional, too, watching you. So I look at it as a celebration for everything I've been through on and off the field. To have that day, it's just going to be amazing. Right.
You've talked about a lot of happy days and sad days in your career. Can you pick out one that was your happiest?
My happiest day? Oh, wow. The happiest day I ever had. Probably, besides today. I mean, each day I wake up, it's just a joy to be here. But I would probably say,
that's amazing.
Happiest day. I would probably say, wow. Put me on the spot right there.
Sorry.
It's tough. I had so many days. I would probably, if I had to pick just one, I would probably say my granddaughter, she's 4 now, because she was born premature. She was born 2 months premature, and then watching her in the incubator or whatever, I thought there's no way she's going to make all the tubes and stuff in her. And my daughter was calm, but every day I would go in there, I would just cry. And I'm like, man, and for her to make it now, and then when she comes, she was here yesterday. Yeah. Hug me and, oh, Papa, I love you, and like that. So I think seeing her come home the day that she came home.
That's amazing. Okay, good answer. What do you think made you such a good player?
I think the hard work I put in, like I tell a lot of players, when you don't have a game, and you don't have practice, what are you doing to make yourself better? For me, all I want to do is baseball. I think I love the game. I studied the game. I worked hard. And even when I was younger, my dad taught me that no matter what, don't let nobody outwork you. That's the same thing I try to tell young kids. So I think the work ethic I put in, and even when when the Yankees had benched me, I still was working hard. I still believe myself. So I would say probably confidence in my work ethic.
Okay. What person did you play with that you thought had the most natural talent?
Daryl. Strawberry, yeah. I always tell people Strawberry probably had more talent than anybody I would play with. But I would say Jeter was probably more consistent because he showed up every day. But Daryl, when he wanted to play, it was nobody better.
Right. Okay, who's the next star that we should be watching?
In baseball? The next star, Ronald Acuna.
Who's that?
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
He's in the Atlanta Braves, even though I should have picked a Meta Yankee. But
no. I want to hear who you like.
This guy's amazing. I mean, this past year he hit, I think, 30 or 40 home runs with 70 stolen bases. I mean, unbelievable. He can run, he can throw, he can do it all.
So we should watch
Ronald Acuna. Yes.
People that watch baseball probably all know who he is besides me. Yes. Okay. Let's see. All right, I'm going to go through a couple players and just give me the first word that comes to your mind. Okay. Tim Tuffle.
Gritty, tough, gamer.
Gary Carter.
Toughest guy. I mean, you say it one word or?
You can say a sentence.
Okay. All right. heart of the player was a better guy than a player, if that's possible.
Wow. I always loved Gary.
Yes.
Keith Hernandez.
Keith Hernandez, the ultimate warrior.
Darryl Strawberry.
Most talented guy I ever seen.
Davey Johnson.
Best manager I ever played for.
Mookie Wilson.
The nicest guy, but he was a quiet assassin as well.
Mel Stottlemyre.
Nicest guy, but sneaky.
Sneaky. Okay. Yeah. Roger McDowell.
Roger McDowell, the funniest guy I ever met.
Jesse Orozco.
Jesse, when we're done, I got a funny story to tell about Jesse, but Jesse was an ultimate competitor. He could pitch forever.
Okay. What's the funny story?
The funny story, so when we were in St. Petersburg, I moved my family after we had a scuffle with the cops. So I moved all my family from Tampa to St. Pete, right? And it's this nice house on the water, so I'm getting for me and my parents. So I go there, and the lady goes, well, we have a guy coming here tomorrow to get this house. And I'm like, did he put anything down? I said, no. I said, what if I give you a check now? Can I get it? She said, if you give me a check now, it's yours. I give it a check to get the house. Kind of find out it was Jesse going to buy the house the next day. He go, Doc, how can you do that? I said, I didn't know it was you. She didn't say no names, nothing.
Oh, my goodness.
I'm sorry. And today, when I see him, he still get on me about that. Yeah, it's crazy.
Oh, my God, that's funny. Okay, just a few more. Derek Jeter.
Derek Jeter, the most talented guy and consistent guy. Well, not talented, most consistent guy.
Consistent in baseball. Mariano Rivera.
The best closer ever.
Joe Torre.
Joe Torre, oof. You got me. I don't really care for Joe Torre.
Okay. Well, that's good enough. Okay, Aaron Boone.
Aaron Boone, great guy. I don't really know him too much.
Okay. George Steinbrenner.
Best owner, should be in the Hall of Fame. Best guy, toughest guy, but the most caring guy I ever met.
Doc Gooden.
Doc Gooden, oof. Doc Gooden, quiet guy, caring guy, loves people.
Okay, I love that. Looking back, is there anything you would have done differently in your career?
My career, on the field, nothing. Off the field, plenty.
Okay. All right, tell us what you're doing now. I know you're helping kids.
Yeah, now we're helping kids. Well, I do a lot of stuff at Hackensack Hospital, cancer patients. I spend a lot of time with the kids, with their families, because the families come in, they fly from different states to be with their kids. So I just try to be there. They like baseball, talk baseball with them. If they want to a game, take them to a game, just kind of get the mood they're in, just try to get them happy for if it's just an hour, talk to them a little bit, dealing with teen addictions. We're doing that stuff as well. Okay. And now we get ready to start a baseball school in New York.
Amazing. Yes. Oh, my God, I love that.
But it's not going to be just about baseball. It's going to be about life, helping kids, the place they can come after school, do their homework, talk about.
So really mentoring them.
Mentoring, too, as well.
Oh, amazing.
So we use baseball to get their attention, and then we switch it to life on life terms.
Yeah. Incidentally, I'm just curious, what other sport do you love to watch?
Football. Like, I love watching football more than baseball, and unfortunately, I'm a Giants fan.
Oh,
which it's been tough.
So I have to ask you then, are you obsessed with Travis and Taylor? Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce?
No, not really.
You don't care about this love story?
I don't care about it. No, I'm a Giants all over. I'm a diehard Giants fan. If it was like Saquon Barkley and somebody, then yes.
Then you would care.
Then I would care.
Okay. All right. All right, I guess that's it. Is there anything I'm missing? Oh, tell me the date next year. Do you know?
Oh, April 14th. So they return to Jersey April 14th, which the day after my daughter's birthday and a week before my mom's birthday.
Amazing.
Yeah, so
okay, so we are all rooting for you. We've always been rooting for you, and I just wish you the best.
Thank you. And I appreciate your friendship, and it's good to talk to you as well.
Yeah, you too.
Keep doing a great job.
I'm going to give you a hug.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for listening to Misunderstood. I'm your host, Rachel Yucatel. Please be sure to subscribe to the show and give us a 5-star rating and review. You can support the show by joining our Patreon at patreon.com/misunderstood with Rachel Yucatel. Do you have ideas for the show or want to reach out? Email us at info misunderstoodpodcast@gmail.com. That's spelled MISS understood. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.